presents School is Now in Session.
Welcome to Homeschooled Podcast.
Homeschool.
The Homeschool Podcast. Why? Because he was homeschooled.
It's time to document the journey.
Welcome back to Homeschool Podcast. I'm Augustino Zoida. I'm the host. It's great to have you guys here. We know you got a lot of options for podcasts, so you're stopping by means the world to us. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this episode. I love when we have guests. I'm glad that you were able to make it today. This will be fun, and thank you to everybody listening for tuning in. We really appreciate it. So really quick, you guys, I'm really excited about our new Homeschool Podcast t-shirt. It's the Only Love Can Save the World design. It's awesome. You can check it out at homeschooledpod.com. Click on merch, and it goes well with my tour, which is called the Only Love Can Save the World tour, and it's starting now, you guys. If you're listening to this today when it comes out, it's Friday. Tonight I have 2 shows in Austin, Texas, and you can see me also Saturday in Austin, Texas at the Romo Room. Tickets are available at homeschooledpod.com. Click on tour, and then starting in May 13th, I'll be in Dubai. I'm doing a little tour in Dubai. I'll be there for like 2 weeks. You can get more info on that at the website homeschooledpod.com. Okay, I'd like to welcome my guest to the show, Kristy Belich. How are you?
Hey, congrats on your tour.
Thank you.
I love that logo, or I love your power phrase for your tour.
Yeah. I have been, for the last several months, that has been the saying on this podcast. I end every show with it, and I just think it's a positive message that it's a great name for the world tour.
Yeah, I love how you're always positive too, because you're a very inspirational person, and I've been catching up on your podcast, and they've been very helpful as well for me. Even while I was out on the road, your podcast kind of kept me very balanced too.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
So
I know you were out there driving from gig to gig, state to state, sort of a nomad lifestyle for a little bit, and I'm glad the podcast got you through it. When I drive, like, I don't know about you, but like, I'm so burnt out on travel. I was just telling someone recently that I think I did so much travel in my youth that now, not that I'm old, but but now that I'm like barely, 30s, I'm just like, I so don't look forward to like long drives and long flights. It's just like I did it too much. I did it too much too young, and if I can help it, I don't ever want to drive to gigs again. Like, I know that I will. Like, I know it's just going to make more sense sometimes for me to drive to gigs, especially now that like I'm starting to go to places where I can bring a comic, and it's just easier if we drive, if it's like Sacramento, Arizona, stuff that's like 6 hours away from me. But like, I just really don't look forward to it. And I got to do the Dubai gig, which is a 16-hour flight. And right now, that just seems like a nightmare to me, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. It should be fun.
you're going to Dubai. It's one of the most beautiful places that I've seen. I've never been there, but I mean, it looks like such a gorgeous place.
Apparently,
do you fly?
Sorry, what's that?
Do you fly straight into the city?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I've never been there before. They're setting everything up for me, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where I'll be. I don't know the exact names of all the cities, but it's the touristy area where everybody vacations and shops. Allegedly, it's the number one destination spot for everybody. That's like where everybody wants to go. It's never been on my list of places that I wanted to go, but I'm thankful. It's work, and they've been really cool over there, and I hear nothing but great things about the shows that, I know comics that did it, and it's apparently a lot of fun. People are really cool. A lot of Brits. Your Brits will be vacationing there. They attend a lot of the shows. But yeah, I just like the last East Coast flight I did. On the way back, that's 6 hours. On the way there, it's like 5:14. On the way back, it becomes 6 hours. And I hadn't done it in like a year. And then I did it in November, and I went to Philly, which was great. And then on the way back, I just really felt it. I was like, man, I was feeling that 6 hours. It was, and I'm certain I got the vid on that flight. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know that because I got it allegedly. Like I never took a test, but I just know I got it. Like I got it the same week that my father had it, and he took the test and he got it. And then, but I just had the same symptoms as him. I lost taste for 4 days. My wife lost taste for a week, and I got to tell you, it was the greatest 4 days of my life. It was awesome. It was like a flu, but it wasn't even the worst flu I've ever had. It was, and I lost taste, but it happened to me over Thanksgiving weekend, and I got to like skip Thanksgiving, which I normally like the holidays. I like Thanksgiving. I like my family, but after I don't eat meat, and after a while, it can get a little annoying with your family. Like, how come you don't eat meat? Having that conversation over and over again. So I just stayed home and binged Peaky Blinders for 4 days, and it was a good time. I ate what I wanted to eat, and it was fine. But the point is, I know for a fact I got out in that flight back from Philly because it's so
Makes
dumb.
perfect sense.
What's that?
Makes perfect sense that it would be from Philly too.
It makes perfect sense that it would be from American Airlines, which has like the dirtiest planes. Like every plane
Yeah.
I go on, most are pretty clean, and they like we're sanitizing the plane. Like American Airlines, like you can visibly see, like crumbs in the in the crevice of the cushion. Like no one's vacuumed or wiped the seat in years, and it's so stupid that like they make us separate in the terminal. Like they tape off every other seat so you can't actually sit next to people in the terminal. But when you're on the plane, they sit you with strangers. And they sold out the plane, which November of 2020, I didn't think that you were allowed to sell out a plane. And, every seat was taken, and I got a middle seat between two savages, two dudes fucking wider than me. And I was just crammed in there for 6 hours like feel COVID happening to my body right now. Like I could feel it. But anyway, yeah, whenever I think about long travel now, I just don't want to do it. But podcast has always helped me through the road.
Yeah,
Driving and
definitely.
stuff. Is that what you would do when you were driving around?
Well, what's so interesting is that you flew during COVID, and I just have a lot of questions about why flights are even allowed, A.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I definitely always have a podcast on if I'm traveling, especially if it's in the car. Podcasts are kind of like my family
Yeah.
sometimes.
What's some of your
It's
go-tos?
Well, as you probably, it's one of yours, but I love the Church of What's Happening Now.
Right.
I love that podcast. I listen to a lot of the spiritual podcasts as well, or audiobooks. So like right now I'm on an audiobook kick, and I'm listening to a lot of Gabby Bernstein and Louise Hay. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but
Mm-mm.
they're the whole Hay House clan. So it's about like positive affirmations, which is like my goal right now, is changing the way I think. So the last 30 days of my life, I've been trying to reframe my brain. So a lot of my go-tos are like power podcasts. Like I listened to a little bit to Jay Shetty. His podcast with David Goggins has been like keeping me kind of going because I'm trying to change my trajectory here in life.
Okay.
Um,
Is it helping?
yeah, tremendously. It's just been shifting a lot of different parts about life because, as you know, I got into a pretty tough car accident
Right.
a month ago, as of the 28th, and then I got into where I'm at right now a month ago, as of I think yesterday. So it's so interesting because we chatted yesterday, and it's
Mhm.
like my whole life changed from
In that one
one
month?
accident. Yeah. But I'm on this health and spirituality and mental health journey right now.
Okay.
So it's been, yeah.
You know Tripoli?
Oh, I love the Tinfoil Hat podcast. I love
Yeah,
that
I love that one
podcast.
too. But he has another one, a spiritual one called
Zero.
Zero, right? And he gets a lot of people on to talk about religion and stuff. And but it's not only about religion. It's like they kind of go a little deep, darker, and in depths of like different dimensions or realms rather. I don't know if you're into that shit, but
Yeah, totally.
yeah, it's pretty good. I was on it once. It's interesting. But I'm glad to hear you're doing better in just this last month, because when you hit me up after the car accident, you kind of seemed like a little defeated in
Yeah.
in some ways. I don't know in what ways, like as far as stand up, like how long can you keep doing it like this? But like a lot of the times things seem like, not that it's not a big deal. A car accident's a big deal, and it was a hard thing to overcome with. But when things happen to you all at once, it's just like it seems like you're not gonna get over this. Like this is the thing that put you. It's at a breaks. You know, it's gonna stop. You're moving forward. You don't see how you can keep moving on from this, and it's just like, just one day at a time, just one piece at a time, little bit. Just make a game plan. That's exactly what you did. Game
Yeah.
plans help everything. I absolutely love planning stuff. And when something happens when you're down, it's like, make the game plan. What's my next move? What's my next move? Not that I play chess or even know how, but it's like it's like a chess game where you have to study like your next move and your next move. Where were you again when the car accident happened?
I was leaving Utah and heading to Denver for the night because I had a 2-day drive. So I was in a city called Morgan, Utah, and I planned my drive based on the weather because I had just come through that Texas ice storm. And
Right.
so it's so freaking weird because um, I lost my car keys in the Texas ice storm, like completely. I had to have guys come and make keys personally for my
What
car.
do you mean you lost them in the storm? Like you dropped it in during the storm and you couldn't go out there and find it?
I had a show in Austin
Uh huh.
the night before the storm started. I had a show Wednesday before the storm, and my days are running together, so I can't remember calendar dates right now. That's
Okay.
a
No, no, no. That's
but
cool. Yeah.
I think but I had to get up to Oklahoma City for shows and the kind of in between because I was in my car, I was staying on couches and kind of in hotels a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and my car started sliding in Texas on I-35 going towards Oklahoma City. So I stopped in this really creepy Motel 6 and I called a friend, and my friend was basically like, come stay with me. And I ended up staying with her because they were calling for the storm.
Instead of the
And when
Motel 6?
well, I stayed in the Motel 6
That one
in
night?
that
Okay.
that one night. And when I got on I-35, what happened is there was like a really big um car pile up that morning. So I ended up staying in a La Quinta and then in Temple, Texas. It's
Yeah.
a long travel story, but basically in the La Quinta, I decided, okay, I'm going to go back into Austin, stay with my friend. I ended up staying with her for a week, but the snow that fell was like a foot deep, and I had gone out the night before in the dark to get like underwear and just like clothes and stuff out of my trunk. And I don't know if I dropped my keys then in
Oh
the
shit.
dark or if I took her. She had a little dog that the snow was too high for the dog. So I just was like holding her and like helping her to get into tire tracks to go to the bathroom. And I might have lost it then, but I never found them. And I had two house keys on there from
Oh my
friends because
god.
when I go on the road, like friends had given me just like keys to their apartments and
Yeah, when you're in town, like you just go up. Wow. Damn.
so
So that was the
it
day
was just
before the crash?
no, that was like a week before the crash. I actually had to cancel one of my first shows that I had to cancel in Tulsa. And then I went up, I had some shows at Bricktown Comedy Club, and then I had a spot to headline in Utah. Coming back from my Utah spot, I was on I-80 going east, and I had checked the weather, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go when it's sunny. I'm gonna go when it's chill, when it's cool outside to safe outside to drive. And I was driving down Route 80 East, and I was in a part of Utah called Medicine Bow, and my car, it was completely sunny out. But I was seeing signs for wind, and I was like, well, you've been through wind, bitch. You can fucking get through wind. You've been through canyons with this car. Do this. Get through this. Because I had $81 in my bank account. And so I needed to get to Denver so that I could do Postmates so I could get to Oklahoma City the next day. So like that's kind of my life that I was like leading at the time.
So like how
So
long? So let's say you get to Denver or whatever city you're gonna get to, and you can just Postmates in any city that you get to, like because you're a Postmates person, you just open the app and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go work now. So like you'll just like work for the night, like making some deliveries, make enough cash to go to the next city.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I didn't realize so like you can just Postmate in any state from state to
Yes, you
state.
can.
Wow. I mean, that's not a bad idea if you are on the road constantly, because road work is so inconsistent that it's like if you're gonna go from town to town, it's like well wherever I am, I can Postmates. Have you ever like been booked like on a paid show, right? And then in the daytime you're like I'm just gonna Postmate today, and
Yep,
then at night you go to your spot.
yep. That's what I would do. And in
Wow.
Texas, they have something called Runner, and I would do that in Texas as well. It's like the
What's it called?
Postmates of
Oh, I gotcha.
Runner.
I gotcha. Oh man. Has anyone ever recognized you? Like, hey, didn't you deliver me food earlier today at the
No,
show? That would be hilarious, actually. Uh,
no.
that's a crazy hustle, though. But I mean, it exists. Like, what? I mean, I guess that a person could do that
Yep.
who's trying to be a comic and sort of, maybe a part-time road comic or nomad. I mean, what happens if the app goes away? I don't see that happening, though. I feel like that service is going to be around for a while.
Well, during the ice storm, the apps were all closed down because it was too dangerous to drive in Texas. And one of the things that happened was Texas was out of like groceries. It was a lot like the beginning of COVID.
Right.
So once that app opened up, I still had a few days there for one day before I went up to Oklahoma City. And I basically delivered water to people through the app. And I did Runner. And what I realized with a lot of the apartment complexes in Texas, they were out of like electricity and
Right.
water. And a lot of the people are on the second floor and maybe immobile. So like a lot of the people I was like bringing cases of water to, like one of the dudes was like unable to go downstairs. So I like felt really bad and I was like, damn, this is a really big lesson here. But I feel like I don't you're spiritual, I'm guessing if you listen to Zero, but I really do feel I do think my guides are trying to say like, bitch, don't get on the road right now. Like don't do this, but like I kept pushing through like and taking my gigs because I don't cancel gigs and like I've been going back and forth with that guilt. But the accident itself was really bad because there were five vehicles involved,
Right.
and it was really kind of like um a very eye-opening lesson for me. So
Well, I mean, that's great that
it's
you got that from it. If anything, an appreciation because I mean, you could have been seriously hurt. Um,
yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know of, well, I have a friend that passed away in Texas a month ago from, getting hit by a car. But he was literally like on the road doing comedy like that, just going from town to town and was walking across the street and a car hit him. So it's like you're really lucky. You're very fortunate. It could have been a lot worse. And if the very worst that came of that is that you had to postpone some spots, not even burned a bridge, it sounded like a lot of the bookers were completely understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, you're good. That's the least that happened. It's wonderful. It's a miracle. It's if anything a big appreciation. And you know, I don't know what else did you get from it? Be more prepared on the road. How could you have been more prepared? It was an accident.
Well, I mean, we all have these asks, right?
Hmm.
In our life. We all have these things that happen to us, and they're those big shift things, whether it's a friend passing away,
Yeah.
which always sucks because that never goes away. That pain never stops, especially in the middle of the night when you want to text them or,
Yeah.
um, but we get these big asks to change. And, I have my ups and downs, especially like this past weekend was tough with getting the hardest part for me is seeing other people doing stuff, and I just want to, like, I'm like a horse and I just want to go out and do shit, I'm like, all right, I gotta go out and do this stuff,
Yeah.
but this was a big ask. So the hardest thing, Augustino, was slowing the fuck down.
Right.
Like you were saying with Thanksgiving, like, you know, that's really hard, is to rest. Resting is so hard for me. I don't know if, I mean, you said you're feeling a little burned out traveling, but
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but like the grind of the road is like where my happy place is. It's
Yeah.
really a lot.
Don't get me wrong. Like,
So,
the travel part does burn me out just because I've done it since a young age, is where people my age probably don't mind it, or they look forward to it and it's fun, but it's like I am a little burned out. But it doesn't mean I don't like going on the road. And to tell you the truth, if I didn't have the travel, if I didn't have the next gig, it gives me an incredible anxiety to be standing still and not moving like you're talking about. It gives me crazy anxiety. I mean, we went through it. We had a
yeah.
pandemic, and I would months. I think I was very fortunate to have like 3 or 4 gigs in 2020, like on the road gigs. I think that, I mean, I talked to some other comics that had more than that. And I'm like, whoa, I thought I was lucky. Because I know a lot that had none, like none. And so I didn't go a year. Was it last night was Monday? Yeah. I was out doing a backyard show on Monday, and that was a lot of the comics' first time on stage in over a year. And so I didn't go a whole year without being on stage or, writing or trying new jokes and stuff like that. I would go 2 months and then 4 months and then 3 months. You know what I mean? Like, I would have a gig pop up in the middle and then just, I mean, I did an open mic in my garage. Like, you know what I mean? I just did whatever I could. I get a crazy amount of, anxiety when I'm not moving. Like, if I feel like I could be doing something with this time, I I just get crazy anxiety. Like, I do rest. I think it is important. It's important to rest. You don't want to burn yourself out. You want to stay sharp for when you are at it. And don't get me wrong, because I'm at it 90% of the time. But that 10% that you're resting should be quality time to make you keep going. When you are going the 90% of the time. Plus, living a life. If you have people in your life that are important to you, you do owe them a share of your time, and quality time, not time on the phone when you go out to dinner with your mom or your sister. I mean, I don't know if you have a sister, but I'm just saying, like, your friend, you have a really good friend. It's like you have to set time. It's so important also. It's rest, but it's work also. Like I said, I'm a big planner. I just feel things go so much more smooth when I plan that I plan rest. Like, I'll go, this day from this time to this time is my time to rest. Or even if it's a half a day, I'm like, this is all the work I have to do, but these hours in the night are specifically reserved for this. Like, you have to do that I mean, I'm a married dude, and you have to do that. You cannot expect your partner to constantly be okay with you 100% gone, or not. Maybe you're there, but you're not there. You're on the phone, you're working on things, which I do. Like, I'm making videos or editing podcasts and stuff like that, but I'll let her know from this day to this day, I'm doing this. This day I have a spot. This night I have podcasts. These nights I'm working out. And then I'll go, like, this time, like this week, I specifically reserve Wednesday night. I don't have anything. Someone offered me a spot in a podcast, and I go, no. I reserved that time to hang out with her because I leave the next day for Texas. And then Monday, Tuesday, I had a spot. Tonight I'm busy. Anyway, you get the point. But long story short, it's just that rest time, even though I get anxiety from it, I get less anxiety from it now because I planned it. I planned the rest time. If rest or someone keeping me still happens when it wasn't supposed to, I get crazy anxiety. But now that I'm resting on the planned rest time, I just don't get anxiety anymore. Not working so long during the pandemic gave me depression a little bit, and but I just felt that the planning definitely helped, even with the anxiety, because I planned for this rest. It's supposed to happen right now. I enjoy, and you know how important it is for a comic to also live a normal life too. Like, you gotta have a little Like, none of us are normal. And, we're living lifestyles that are not normal. But you've got to have, like, a little percentage of your life reserved for going out to dinner, spending time with your family, friends, hanging, being a human being, being a friend, being a sister, a brother, whatever. It's like the best material comes from that. And I'm at a point right now where I'm thinking back, all these like ideas for stories are from when I was like 14. And I go, oh, I forgot about that. That's going to be a great story for the stage. But like, because there was a period that I did comedy from 20 to like, I'd say 30 years old, where all I did was comedy. Lived it, breathed it. The person I am today was not the person I was the entire time I was a comic. Like, I had a wife before that we were divorced. Partially it's her fault, partially I take responsibility. I wasn't around. I didn't give a fuck. It was just comedy, comedy, comedy for me. And if you want to keep a good relationship with anybody, you have to reserve those times. And so now, like, I don't have any stories from my 20s. Like, if I tell you a story on stage, it's probably before I was a comic, or it's something that happened to me recently after I was 30, because I'm realizing now to go and live my life and consume life so that you can talk about it on stage.
Yeah, I'm right at the beginning of that. Like, how do I be a person? But yeah, how old are you?
I
If
am
you don't mind me
about,
asking.
no, not at all. I'm about to be 33. In a couple months,
Oh,
I'll
gosh.
be 33.
Okay.
And I
So
started
you're
when I was
younger
20.
than me.
Am I?
Yeah,
How old were you when you started?
28, and
Mm-hmm.
I just turned 35 last week.
Oh, okay.
So,
Comedy's
but
different though. It's like dog years. Like I'm
yeah,
like in comedy years, I'm like 47. Yeah, it's like, you got to learn how to just be. I'm not saying you're not a normal person, but I'm saying you do have to learn how to have a good time too. And it's okay to have those breaks. And again, like I said, it's not necessarily rest. It's work. You're working at a relationship or working on your own rest so that you can keep working. It's all work, or even if you have a day job so you can pay your bills to support your dream. It's like, it's all work. And I got one thing to ask of you though. If
which
you if you talking about like a personal life, needing to have it so that you have stuff to talk about and write about on stage, obviously a job's going to come in there, right? Like, you're probably going to think of jokes about your jobs or whatever you make money, Postmates, whatever it is that you're doing. This bothers me so much when comics do it. Don't say you still have the job. Do you ever hear comics
I
doing that?
Well, okay, I have a debate with that though,
Okay.
because that is when I came up and was in New York City, and that was a huge part of like, don't ever say that you have a job currently.
Yeah.
But say you're at a bar in the middle of, I don't know, Funkstown, Maryland, which is my favorite.
That's your
And
favorite
you're
bar.
well, it's my favorite place to do stand-up comedy. They're not doing it anymore. Apparently, there were too many fights, but the point the point being, like, you're talking to people that are coming off shift,
Yeah.
and that's the part that I used to go by, that sort of New York City model, and then I was like, but I'm not, but I'm these. So I just politely disagree, because I'm like, well, I'm like these people in the bar. I'm not like, I'm nothing more than, I'm just the same as these people coming off a job.
Right, I gotcha. So I mean, so you're saying like you're trying to relate to them. You relate to them better by them knowing you're like them. Like, you had a job just like them. You're hardworking.
We're
I
all the
see where you're
same.
coming from. Yes, I see where you're coming from. But I have a couple debates back at you.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
So, one, if you're doing comedy in I'm assuming it's a shitty bar. I'll just say a bar. I won't say shitty bar. I won't. It's
You can say
probably
shitty
it's probably an
bar.
awesome. I know I've performed in 1,000 bars, and none of them were the Ritz-Carlton hotel bar. So I've performed in a bunch of bars. When you're performing in there, they pretty much know you're on their level too. You know what I mean? Like, they don't think you're better than them, like, at all. But that's an excellent point that you're making. You want to relate to them. But I feel that you still get that job done just by going, I worked at a so-and-so once. Or, guys, I was doing Postmates. And you don't even have to say I used to. Guys, I was doing Postmates. You're not lying. You were doing, you know what I mean? Like, I just try to go like, guys, you can tweak that word a little bit. And here's my other debate back at it is that the whole point of performing in a bar is to grow as a comedian. Because although bars can be fun to perform in, I've had some fun sets, but it's like that is to train you to be a better comic. Like when you go do a gig and some guy couldn't handle a heckler, you can because you do the bar in Maryland. That's how you know how to handle a heckler. So all of it is training anyway. You know what I mean? And when you go work, say the Improv, and they're hiring you to feature or whatever, and you go up on stage at everybody that paid like $25, sometimes higher a ticket. The Improv does those VIP tables. Oh, it's like $45 a ticket, and it comes with an Improv glass. You know what I mean? Like people are paying a lot of money, and then you go on stage and you're just like, hey, so I work at Petco, and it's like I feel like it devalues the show. Like why? I mean, to your point, yes, you're on the same level as them. But if you're on the same level as them, why am I going to pay $50 to watch you? You know what I mean? Like, I could have just stayed home and been me. but no, I think you're right. To your point, no, it is right. Relating to people is the biggest thing in comedy. I just feel like it doesn't take away to go like, I used to drive for Uber. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's my opinion on it. But
in the past tense.
Yeah.
I hear you. And also, you're doing much fancier feature work at this time.
Yeah. Right now, yeah, I did. But I always try to, like, when I did those gigs, I would try to, I don't know, make myself seem like there's a reason you're watching me. Like I made it. I'm here in Maryland doing this bar. I made it.
Shout out Funkstown, Maryland.
Funkstown is the name of the city or the bar?
The name of the city.
Oh, okay. What was the name of the bar?
It's called Joker's Bar and Grill in Funkstown.
Oh, hell yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Did they do comedy like every night?
They did comedy on Monday nights, and they had a pool table, and sometimes people would get too loud and rowdy at the pool table, or hockey would be on, so people would just be talking and yelling at hockey, and that's when you know if they listen to you, you're funny, or you're doing something good, or if you roast people watching hockey. So, like, I really miss that stuff.
Man, what you're describing, I don't miss at all. Oh, man, I've done so many gigs like that with the pool table, and they're just,
Yep.
Another thing that I kind of don't like when I would do bar shows is when comics would, like, get mad at the bar patrons and yell at them and be like, I'm trying to do comedy here. And it's like, it's one thing if the guy heckled you, right? That's different. But if they're just at a bar being loud and drinking and talking to the bartender or their friend, it's like, no. He's not interrupting a comedy show. A comedy show is interrupting him at his bar that he comes every day. And now there's a comedy show when he's trying to, he just got off work, so wants to have a beer and you know what I mean? So I just always like I never address those guys. You want to be loud, be loud. I'm going to do my best to be louder and just entertain these people. And that's the challenge too, is like with all the surroundings. I mean, you do them. That's the biggest training, those tough rooms. I did a show speaking of at a bar, I did a show in, I want to say Las Vegas, but it was technically not Las Vegas. Somewhere in Nevada, near Las Vegas. And it was at this casino that no one ever heard of. And they had like I don't know what you want to call a rec room that had a bar and also slot machines at the bar. So people are just sitting there drinking. And that's where the show was supposed to be. And, they did a horrible job promoting this show. They had a big poster of me on like a, what did they call those things? An easel that you stick outside?
Yeah, an easel.
An easel. So
You
like,
can paint by numbers on an easel, yeah.
you can what?
You can paint by numbers on that.
Oh, okay, but yeah, so it's like one of those metal ones that they just slide the poster in, and so there's the casino, and then you had to go into that separate room. So they had that easel outside with my picture on it, saying like comedy show tonight, and it was turned around, like facing the wall, like someone didn't put it out, like zero promotion on this show, and I show up and there was no one there. It was me and a comic named Aaron Bowden. I don't know if you know him. He's originally from Florida, and I brought him to feature, and and there's literally zero. I mean, when I say no one there, it's not like how comics say there's no one here when there's really 12. I mean, no one, zero people. Okay, and they told me you still got to go up and do the time. Like this is like one of those rooms that they didn't pay you if you didn't do it. It was the casino rule. And I'm like, but there's no one here. They're like, and we start on time. You know how casinos, we start on time. I'm like, you don't want to wait until maybe one person comes in? No, start now. There's no one there. There was empty chairs. Not a soul in there. And I had to go on stage and do my act to no one.
Did you try to bark people in at least and be like, comedy show, I'm the comic, or anything like that? I know that
No.
if we're in past tense about
Yeah. And I think Aaron wanted to do that. And I was just like, dude, if you want to do it, you can do that. But I'm not going to ask you to. And I go, so what I did is we'll go up in front of each other. You know, at least you're listening. And I worked on a bunch of new stuff. And I actually went up first when I was supposed to headline and MC'd. And I go, I'll do 10 MCing, bring you up, you do 15, and then